inviting me to speak tonight, to talk to you about something that's become my life, actually. A little bit of history. I grew up, truly, I did. This is it, when I grew up.
We are the same species.
Separated at birth. I grew up in Rhode Island in a wonderful home. I'm Jewish, and I am saying that to you because growing up in a Jewish household, everything's about food. You sit down for breakfast talking about what you're going to have for lunch. You sit at lunch and you talk about what are you going to have for dinner. And so it goes. Some of my fondest food memories are when I was younger. I went with my grandfather to Providence, Rhode Island, to the bagel factory. And we would drive home, and we always kept one bagel out because it was warm, and we ate it together. And then we'd get home, and it was brunch, of course. We missed a little breakfast time. We had brunch, and then we went into whatever. My mother was brought up for some of her life in Germany, and so at a very early time, before healthy food was even a consideration, we ate healthy food. We had skim milk, which I hated and still do, but we ate vegetables and fruit, and there was no candy, except for Halloween when we ate it all. And my father, on the other hand, who was American, loved junk food. So growing up in that household, some days was really boring and some days really exciting. And going to the supermarket with my father was like going to a toy store. Going with my mother was pretty boring, but her heart was in the right place. So in 2010 in Sarasota, Florida, my career at that time as a single parent was as a real estate agent. And I was working my normal 70 hours a week to provide for my children the life that I wanted and I wanted for them. I was asked to enter into a mentoring program at JFCS, which is an organization in Sarasota and Manatee. And I took their course, and then I was assigned a student at Booker Middle School. Lovely young girl who had serious anger management problems, and they thought she and I would be a good mix. And we really were. Except one day when I went there, she was literally falling asleep at the table. And I thought to myself, I'm not so exciting to talk to, but I don't think I'm that boring. And when I asked her what was going on, she explained to me an answer I never anticipated. That answer was she had not eaten for 12 hours. Think about that. I was blown away, and I really didn't know how to establish that in my head. I went off with my day, and I happened to be showing property that day, and a very high-end customer who was more spoiled than I like to think about. But I couldn't deal with that, knowing I had this kid who wasn't eating on a regular basis. And I was like, who knew? I never heard of that in Sarasota? No way. So I finished my day. I went home, sleeping that night. I woke up, and scratch pad next to my bed always. About 3 o'clock in the morning, I wrote down children's pantry. The next morning, I called the then principal at Booker Middle, and I said, Joe, I need you for like 10 minutes. I went to Booker Middle, I sat with him, I explained to him what had happened the day before, and I said, I've got this brilliant idea. I want to open up a pantry in this school. I will take care of it. I will fill it with healthy food so that children who don't have enough food to eat can go to a place and get something good to eat. But it's only for children. I don't want any teachers in here. This is for the kids only. Can I do it? He thought it was a great idea, and he said, sure. I said, fine, find me space. Saturday, I had a cubby that I could create this pantry in. I went in with a hazmat suit and scrubbed like I've never scrubbed in my life because the thing was filthy. But it was going to be a pantry. And that was the beginning of what now is the Children's Healthy Pantry. As of last Monday, our dates got mixed up because of Irma. We now deliver once a month to 11 Title I schools. And I delivered, well, I didn't deliver it. I have a corps of volunteers who delivered 30,000 granola bars and 5,500 bottles of water. We do this once a month. As long as the money holds out, we'll continue to do it. The fact that 1 in 3 children in Sarasota do not have enough food to eat on a regular basis is really astounding. And it's not right. It's not right. Children in America, I mean, I'll really get on a soapbox here. It is not right that we listen and we hear about how wealthy our country is and we have starving children here. It makes no sense. The fact that we live in a community that per capita is in the top 15 of the wealthiest city in the country, and we have homeless children here. We have homeless children. We have children who don't know where their next meal is coming from. And so what we do in our organization is we fill in a gap. So even if these kids are entitled to free breakfast and free lunch, we know that if they eat lunch at 10:30 in the morning, which some of them do, because you got to get them in, you got to get them out, and you've got to get the rest of the school in, that's it till the following day. So in some of our schools that we work with, that granola bar goes home and that's supper. Or the packaged crackers that we still provide for the children, because we've had to change too. All of a sudden, we've got to be peanut-free. And not only peanut-free, we have to be nut-free, because you can't produce, a child who has a peanut allergy can't be near anything that's around peanut oil or anything else. So we've become, in order to provide what we're trying to do, that specialized for some of the children in these schools. And it's just incredible. I mean, the fact that 30,000 granola bars are being ordered and delivered, and how we do that process, I'll bring you totally into the fold. What we do, my job, is to raise money and to make people aware of what we do. We don't spend money advertising. You're not going to read about us unless it's an article that someone has written. We don't spend that money. I get a salary. I get paid $6,000 a year. That's my token salary, and I am the only paid employee. Everybody else is volunteer. We have a bookkeeper who is a 1099, so she charges us, but everything else is gratis, my whole board. And what a sincerely wonderful group of people who are committed so that these kids have food to eat. Because we know when kids don't have enough food to eat, what happens? They get sick more frequently. They certainly aren't going to concentrate on learning because they're hungry. And if you stop and you think about it, as grown-ups who have an opportunity to go to the refrigerator or stop at a restaurant or whatever we do to fill ourselves up with something when we're hungry, think about what life would be if there is no food. And yet, you're expected to carry on your day like everything's perfect. We expect children to do their optimum best in school when they're hungry. It's impossible because they're hungry. So rather than ignore it, we're doing something about it. And we all can do something about it, because it doesn't require $1 million. It requires assistance. It requires knowledge of knowing this problem even exists. So once a month, as I started to say before, we rent a truck from U-Haul. I have a young man who drives that truck, and it's a big one. It's like an 18-footer. And they drive it to Save-A-Lot, which is a market on the corner of McIntosh and Bee Ridge Road. It is the least expensive retail food that I can buy. And we order, they have a manager, John, who has worked with me first on Lyme, where they're located, and now on McIntosh. One of my greatest fears, besides not having enough money, is that John won't be there, because he orders. We've got our routine down pat. I can now pick up the phone and say, John, this is what I need, duplicate it again, and let's get it out there. So the dates have changed because of the hurricane, but on the 18th of this month, I will have 5 volunteers, including a van driven by an employee of Easter Seals. They have 7 adults young adults, who are at Easter Seals and can function well enough so that they can pick up a case of water and put it in a van. And that case of water, multiples, and the granola bars are driven by the Easter Seal employee to Visible Men Academy in Manatee County, and they unload the snacks for the kids at Manatee. What a great connection that is. Think about that. That's just amazing. And that's what we do. And we will keep doing it as long as we can afford to do it, and as long as the need is there. And I keep waiting for the phone to ring and have somebody say, you know what, we don't need it. The kids have all the food they could possibly eat. Wouldn't that be great? That's like Christmas every day. So that's what we do. We are always looking for volunteers. We mostly want you to become comfortable with what we're doing. Feel free to be involved with what we're doing. We have a website. I now have a volunteer IT person who's going to Facebook us and tweet us and Instagram us and all the things I know nothing about.
The event.
Other than I know about it, I don't do it. But we just have an amazing group of people. And it is a serious problem. Children's hunger is not a new issue. I had a magazine sent to me last year by someone in Pennsylvania who had heard what we were doing. And it's an article that reads about child hunger in 1979. And here we are in 2017. I attended a summit last week that the food bank put together, and we're actually getting worse here. We are in worse shape than we were 5 years ago, which is really hard to believe, but it's also understandable. I got a call about a month ago that Gosio School, that's one of the schools we're in, added 3 new kindergartens this year. That's 75 more kids. I got a call from Lamarck, which is an elementary school we service in Northport. They have 3 new classrooms, and all of these children are coming in needing free and reduced breakfast and lunch. And then we have our government who will have an election, and they're trying to reduce the amount of money spent on children's food. And they feel that, it's enough, it's not doing the trick. The healthy food that they tried to provide didn't make kids smarter. So now they're going back to, let's just give them Pop-Tarts or whatever junk food they're going to eat instead of all the healthy food. And it's like, wait a minute, what is the logic there? And what is the logic about child hunger anyway? There is none. There absolutely is none. There's no reason other than there is something terribly, terribly wrong. when you go, as I did, and many of you may have too, at the end of business in a supermarket, at the end of business day, food like raw meats and chickens and whatever else you can think of hasn't sold that day, it doesn't go to homeless people. It doesn't go to the food banks. It doesn't go to Salvation Army. It goes in the trash. And how absurd is that when you have a population of people starving and we are throwing away tons of food? And when I asked that question at Save-A-Lot, because I witnessed that happen, and I intervened, I just happened to be there. And I directed the kid to get me big bags, you know, big garbage bags. And I called Tricia down at Salvation Army. And I said to her, listen, I can bring you steaks and chicken and whatever that hasn't sold. Can you use them? She said, bring it down. We'll cook it and serve it today. I'm not looking for a pat on my back. This happens every single day with every supermarket that's out there. And, you know, it's interesting because Detweilers did a very charitable thing when Irma happened. They had food that they knew they couldn't sell. They didn't throw it away. They cooked it, and they gave it away. And I thought, what a concept. Why did we have to wait for a hurricane to do that? Why can't that happen on a daily basis? And if it's too expensive, then at least do it once or twice a week. But, I mean, really? How does that happen? How does it happen that we have a starving population and food actually being thrown in a dumpster? Somebody needs to explain that to me because I don't get it. And when the markets say they're afraid because if somebody gets sick, they're going to get sued. But there is a Good Samaritan law, and the Good Samaritan law prevents that from happening. So it's not an argument that holds water. So if you go to a supermarket and you have a relationship with the manager in a supermarket, ask that question. Ask them if you can't make arrangements to pick up food that's going to be thrown away and either cook it here, bring it to wherever it can get cooked, or just deliver it. Salvation Army, I've never heard them say no. Resurrection House. I mean, these are facilities that we all know about. They're out there. And these are facilities that have needs. The growers in Immokalee, they have nothing. I mean, they have nothing. And we're throwing food away. It makes no sense. Childhood hunger makes no sense. In one of the speeches I was giving, I was trying to figure out, how do I close? Because, you know, I would talk to you for the rest of the night until you throw stones at me and tell me to go home. But I was trying to figure out how to close. And what I did was I was remembering the story, The Little Engine That Could. So I downloaded it. Miracle of all. I downloaded the book, and I'm reading the book. And what I didn't remember about this story was the little train trying to go up the mountain was carrying food and toys for children. And I thought, who knew? So it's now become my mantra. And when I close and I say to you, the little train said, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. I think we can. I think you are a strong group of women. We can get this job done. We need to get this job done. And I thank you for your time.
Invite them to the event.
I'm sorry. My friend Nancy is here to tell me to remember something other than my name. We are hosting a thank you event at Dimmitt Motors. You talk about extremes. At Dimmitt Motors on State Street in downtown Sarasota. If you are free, because the event is free, we just want to say thanks. We're going to have food donated. We're going to have wine donated. And you can drink as much of it as you wish.
No tickets. No tickets. No tickets.
No tickets. No tickets. Just goodwill. We are going to have live and silent auctions because, I mean, how do you have a welcome party and not? But we are going to have music by Michael Ross, who is a jazz musician in town. We are going to have music from Booker Middle School String Orchestra, I think. I know we're having them. I don't know who's coming to play what, but I know Booker Middle Group is coming. It is on November 2nd. It is from 6 to 8:30 at night.
It's open to everyone.
That's our Thanksgiving Day.
I'm sorry. We'll have to coordinate.
I'll
with
be
you
cooking.
better. You'll be cooking. I'm so sorry you can't, but you know what? I know Paula, certainly. I've had the pleasure of having lunch with Pat. And if we do something else during the year, we will keep you in our hearts and minds. And feel free, if there's anything you feel you want to do to be involved with us, give us a yell, give us a call. I love what you're doing because you're doing what needs to be done. Thanks.